Welcome back, wrestling fans. I'm Joey the Bruiser, Tanner Bruce, and again, we are continuing our interview with Dick the Destroyer Beyer. Hope you're having a good time, as much as a good time that we're having here today at Ilio DePaulo's Restaurant and Lounge. At this time, Mr. Destroyer, before we even talk about Dr. X, getting into that in a minute, I'm going to throw at you right now some names. Some names blast from the past, maybe some names from today's wrestling. And I want you to give me your feedback, either one word association back to me, one phrase, really brief synopsis when I give you this name. So if you are ready, and all of you are ready, from the Destroyer.
I want them to give the same answer out there. I want you to give an answer too.
Keep score at home if you like, folks.
Okay.
See how you match up. Here we go. First name I'm going to throw out to you, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. He carried my bag into the arena is how he got started in pro wrestling in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And it's in his book. You will see that. Very good. Ed Don George.
Ed Don George was my mentor in pro wrestling, and if it wasn't for Ed Don George, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Giant Baba.
Giant Baba was trained at Crystal Beach by Fred Atkins. Can you imagine? And it was the winter of 1950. And he's over in Crystal Beach at a cottage. He froze his tush. And his tush was pretty good size.
Yeah, it must have been too.
So anyway, Baba was 6'10". Anyway, Baba, later on, I became very popular in Japan. Prior to my going there, I wrestled Giant Baba in January, February, and March. I don't know the exact dates, but we had 3 matches, and they were all long matches before I ever went to Japan. I was the WWA World Champion, and Giant Baba, to this day, is the reason there was 70 million people watching when I wrestled Ricky Dozan in May of 1962. He later became my boss.
And it all came to fruition. That's okay. One word answers. No. We'll give it what he needs. Here, I got another one for you, of course. We talked about him earlier. Gorgeous George.
Gorgeous George was the greatest entertainer that television had, along with Milton Berle.
Ilio DePaulo.
Ilio DePaulo. I first met Ilio right here in Western New York. And Ilio and I actually became real good friends after he retired. In 1963, in December of 63, we were in Japan together as a tag team. And if you ever come out to Ringside Lounge, you can see a lot of pictures at Ilio DePaulo's of the Ringside Lounge in the time that we were wrestling. After Ilio retired and I retired, we became closer friends because we did a lot of things for charity. And the shirt I have on tonight is the Ilio DePaulo Scholarship Fund. The shirt, this was started by Michael and Dennis DePaulo and Ethel DePaulo, and we have a scholarship fund in Ilio's name. So Ilio was, you know what, I would say that Ilio and I were closer than brothers when he died, because brothers fight. Ilio and I never fought.
Ilio DePaulo. Let's move on. Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. You know what? I got a little bit of stories that him.
And doesn't everyone? Here we go.
Anyway, I wrestled him in St. Catharines. Ray Stevens and I were a tag team against Andre, and he just threw Ray and I from corner post to corner post. But the story I want to tell you was when we were in Japan, and we went to a German restaurant over there, and on their New Year's Eve, in the Orient, the Orientals, they celebrate New Year's pretty good. Mm-hmm. And we went to Rudy's German restaurant. And he's up there, and he's on stage. And the stage has got a drop ceiling. Now, he's 7'4", and they got a drop ceiling, so you can't see his head. And he got up there, and he says, I'm going to sing a fish song.
Now, what year was this again, did you say?
Let's see. This was probably 77, 78, 79.
This must be the precursor to karaoke as we know it today. Maybe Andre the Giant.
Yeah, maybe. So Andre's up there, and he's going to sing the fish song. So he gets up there, and he makes a mouth like a fish. And you can do it better than I can. And that's all he did up there was he made the fish. And he's going, my wife and I, we're pissing our pants, laughing in the corner.
It's like Ben is over here too. Yeah, that's right.
We're pissing our pants laughing, and the Japanese, they don't know what the hell's going on. They're waiting for a sound to come out of him. He never did anything but...
One of the greatest songs you may have heard from Dick the Destroyer Bowser for Andre the Giant. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan and I, Hulk Hogan was from Minnesota, but we never wrestled. But we did go to the same German pub in Japan. Hulk,
All points lead to that pub, folks. Yep, that's right.
Hulk kind of revolutionized a little bit of pantomiming, maybe, that he'd get in that ring and he'd go here and he'd go here. Let me hear you over here, and he'd pull that shirt off. So Hulk, if you read Ric Flair's book, he didn't have much respect for Hulk Hogan. But I think maybe in his particular case, they were in the same era. I had a lot of respect for both of them. They were great performers, and Hulk was not a wrestler, but he could perform in the ring, and he got the job done, and the people liked him, and he drew money, and that's the name of the game. Can you draw money? Can Ric Flair draw money? Yes.
Triple H.
Triple H, I don't know anything about.
Triple H, sorry. Stephanie, you can stay with us.
Other than the fact that he was trained by Killer Kowalski.
That's right.
Now,
thank you very much.
Let me tell you a little story about Killer Kowalski.
Nice segue into this one, folks. Go ahead.
When I first went to Japan, I walked in the ring the night before I'm supposed to wrestle Ricky Dozen, and in the ring for the finals of the tournament that they had was Killer Kowalski against this Ricky Dozen. Can we stand up for this?
Let's go.
Won't do what I did to Killer, okay? So anyway, I walk in the ring, and I walk over to Killer Kowalski, and I get nose to him. Now, he's going to wrestle this Ricky Dozen. Now, the crowd is really cheering me, because I was the WWA World Champion. And I get nose to nose with Kowalski, and he says to me, slap me as hard as you can. So I whacked him.
That was good. That was very good, yeah.
Anyway, I whacked him, and he looked at me, and I turned around and I walked away from him. He didn't do anything. Do you know, in Japan today, when people question me about going to Japan, I remember when you whacked Killer Kowalski. They won't mention a match against Ricky Dozen. I remember when you hit Killer Kowalski. And I'm not sure, I said that Killer said hit me. I'm not so sure that was my reaction. I went to shake hands with him, and he wouldn't shake hands with me, and then I might have whacked him.
Well, how did you do that?
Hard.
Sure.
Hard, man. No, you don't want that, Joe.
Oh! You don't want to work that one. But that's Killer Kowalski.
Yeah.
It worked from that day on.
Oh, yeah, that was, You know, and I've mentioned that I've seen Killer many times. Killer's still alive, God bless his
Yes.
soul, and he trained Triple H, along with China Doll, or China, what's her
Yeah,
name?
that she goes by a lot, Joni, whichever she wants. Got a couple more for you I want to throw at you. Dick the Bruiser. Not Joey the Bruiser. Dick the Bruiser.
Dick and I go back to 1955. We stayed at the Chateau Hotel, which was 1 block away from Marigold Gardens, and we used to train together. We'd go on the road together, train together, and we'd go over to Marigold Gardens and lift some weights in the morning, and on the way back, we'd stop for V8 juice and beer.
There it is again.
Mixed.
That's right.
So anyway,
Give me a blood shot.
That's gross.
Can you make your shoe smell? Yeah, this was it right here.
anyway, 2 o'clock in the morning one morning, and a knock on my door at the Chateau Hotel. And Bruiser's there, and he's got a girl he's dragging down the hall by the hair. He says, I want you to meet my broad. And so that was it. And down to his room he went. The next night, he says, you got to go to Calumet City with me, see my broad. She was a stripper in Cal City. He married that girl, and they were married until the Bruiser died. She was a great girl, but they fought cats and dogs. I went to their place down in Florida one time, and they got into an argument, and they threw and broke every dish in the place. They throw them back and forth at each other. Don't ask me why, but that's the way they lived, and they loved each other. Their son went to West Point.
Well, maybe that may be the new moniker. I don't know about the year 2000 for women's lib, but as far as Dick the Bruiser goes, you gotta see my broad.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Now these are quick ones. These are quick, snap right from the head. Are
Okay.
you ready? Here we go. Mil Mascaras.
Great guy. The number 2 masked man in the world.
Kurt Angle. Talk about it.
Kurt Angle, great wrestler. If I had one match I would like to go back to, I'd like to wrestle him.
Vince McMahon Jr.
The worst person in the world. I say this, he ruined pro wrestling as I know it. Forget about the worst person in the world. He's not the worst person in the world. He ruined pro wrestling as I know it.
Jimmy the Superfly Snuka.
Jimmy the Superfly Snuka. Got a little story, got to go with this.
We will. We got
I
it.
went through Hawaii one time, and we go back to Lord Blair's, and who was the booker and TV commentator, and Ed Francis was the promoter. And I'm on my way back from Japan, and this is when I wrestled there in 62, 56, 62, and 70. And this had to be 76, 77, 78. And they say, we got a Samoan kid over here, we want you to wrestle. He says, we know you can beat him. He says, but see how good you can make him look. So anyway, it's Jimmy Snuka. So I wrestled him, and they come back to the dressing room at the end. Oh, it's great. He's going to challenge you for another match. You listen to the challenge. Hey, brother, I want to challenge that destroyer again. We're going to get him not next week. I get him in 2 weeks, right back here again. 2 weeks later, I wrestled on my way back to Japan. And he didn't know anything. Really, he didn't know a thing. 5 years later, he's wrestling for WWF. And here's a guy jumping up on the ropes. He's the best looking athlete that I saw when I first saw him to when I saw him 5 years later. He improved so much. It was Jimmy Snuka.
Jimmy Snuka. Here's one. Or this is a combination. Mr. Wrestling 1 and 2. Your thoughts?
Well, Mr. Wrestling 1, I think, I'm not sure who it was because they changed masks.
That's right.
Johnny Rubberman Walker was 1, and
Tim Woods
was
talked
the
about
other one.
earlier. Yep.
So they were both good wrestlers, great masked men. They took, I respect masked men. You asked me about mascaras.
Right.
He protected the mask. the Wrestling 1 and Wrestling 2 protected the mask. Superstar protected the mask. I didn't like Super Destroyer because he was taking advantage of my publicity, and I didn't like that.
That was one that he just added to that one, folks. How about, this is a combination one as well, Angelo Poffo and Chuck Healy. Local affiliation here, folks.
Like Chuck Healy's a Syracuse grad, boxed at Syracuse, great commentator at ringside. And Angelo Poffo, we wrestled here in Buffalo in the main event, 1961. But I first wrestled him in Chicago in 1955. And nobody knew. I wrestled him as Dick Beyer. And Angelo was a great amateur, had 2 sons that became very good professional wrestlers. So I have a lot of respect for Angelo Poffo.
Brute Bernard. What comes to mind?
I don't know him.
Don't know.
I know who he is,
Right.
but I was never in a territory with Brute Bernard.
That one through. And then one final one. Want to get your thoughts. Make it brief if you like, or one word if you wish. My final one, Dick the Destroyer Beyer.
Dick the Destroyer Beyer. He's the greatest friend I ever had. You know what? I have been in the right place at the right time on many times in my career. I go back to 61 school when I swam and played baseball. Then I go back to Seneca High School where I played high school football. I went back for a 5th year to high school so that I could PG and be a better football player. Alumni from Syracuse came behind Seneca High School, and they were looking at 3 people. They were looking at Don First, a quarterback. They were looking at Joe Carl, an end, as scholarship to go to Syracuse. And they weren't looking for Dick Beyer, but the line coach, a fellow by the name of Mr. Schmidt, says the best football player we got is Dick Beyer. So then they talked to me. And these 2 people were Charlie Stempke and Fred McAmer Sr. And one was an attorney, and one was a detective in downtown Buffalo. And if they hadn't have been there, I wouldn't have went to Syracuse. I went to Syracuse, I joined a fraternity. If I hadn't have joined that fraternity, I wouldn't have gone into wrestling. And I wouldn't be sitting here today. So
But my friend, go ahead.
So there's a lot of things of being in the right place at the right time and taking advantage of it.
That's the Destroyer. We'll be back with more right after that.
You guys saw it when I first got it.
Okay.
Now here's the figure 4. You see this thing here? I pushed the pressure down there. How does that feel, buddy?
Dick, I get it. Destroyer, I got it.
Okay, I won't put it on you.
No.
But we're gonna see that again in another match that I have coming up.
All right.
Figure 4 leg lock, the greatest hold in wrestling.
And you better believe it, folks, because he's got the bruise rider right now, Dick. Oh, jeez.
Welcome back, wrestling fans. Joey the Bruiser Tenebruso here again with you, alongside with Dick the Destroyer Beyer. We're going over some of the great matches in his career as we see he heads down to the ring for yet another great match as he brings his career to a close. Just want to ask you, Dick, I mean, all the Japanese fans and wrestlers, I mean, they see you all these years and wearing a mask, and obviously throughout the years they know of many of the masked wrestlers that are out there, like Jushin Thunder Liger and Tiger Mask. And were you the first wrestler to come aboard that they recognized as a masked wrestler?
No, and a lot of people here in Buffalo, they said, gee, you wore a mask. I said, well, there was a masked man here in Buffalo before me. The Zebra Kid, who was a pretty good amateur wrestler in college, George Bolus, he was in Japan ahead of me, and Mr. Atomic, Clyde Steves was over there. No, I was very successful with the mask because I portrayed the